Welcome, everyone. We are glad to have you here today. I'd like to convene our special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners this Thursday, June 8th at 3:30. If you would please silence your cell phones or turn off the devices that you may have. We are going to have our Acting County Attorney Paul Chipok lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. As you all know, we are here today to finish the culmination of a process of interviews for our county attorney position. And just for the record, so that the public knows, we are here to take any comment from the public that would like to be a part of this process. But each one of us has had the opportunity to meet individually with each of these candidates. The candidates have also had the opportunity to meet with the county manager and with members of the staff of the county attorney's office. So this is not the only activity that's taking place as a part of this process. This is just the final, I was going to say nail in the coffin. That's not the right phrase.
No.
This is the grand hurrah.
This is the cream on the sundae.
That's right. This is the cherry on top of this fantastic process. And I want to thank Renee Narlock, especially again for your time and wonderful professionalism getting us through this process. You have brought us fantastic candidates yet again, and so thank you. I'm going to turn it over to you, if I could, to just tell us what this afternoon is going to be, and then maybe introduce for us the first candidate.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners. Good to be here again. Always a pleasure working with you. I appreciate the opportunity. As you know, we've been through a process the last couple days with some excellent candidates for county attorney position. And this afternoon, we have each of them coming before you to introduce themselves, but also to answer any additional questions you may have or respond to any comments or anything that you may need before we turn them loose for the day. And our goal is to, once we have talked with each of those candidates, to determine then if we want to discuss candidates and even come to a consensus on who you would like to move forward as your top pick. And then, of course, talk about the details of what that would look like and the next steps beyond that of negotiations and things like that. Fortunately, for all of us, I think, we've been through this not so long ago with the hiring of the county manager, so I think you're familiar with the process that we used then, and we'll pretty much follow that from here. So with that said, if you are ready, I'll introduce our first candidate.
That'd be great. Thank you. And I just, for the agenda purposes, we had allotted 15 minutes just because we needed to put some time down. We may not need all 15 minutes. And that's okay. I'm sure the candidates would be okay with that as well, because it's been a grueling couple of days. So
It is, Chair.
All right. Thank you very much.
With that, I'll introduce you to Mr. David Margolis.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, Manager, and Paul. Thank you very much. I have been very fortunate to have the opportunity to interview with each of you, and I will keep my comments brief. I told Commissioner Zembauer this morning that I try to be concise, and I have to admit that when I was preparing these remarks, I initially envisioned something very comprehensive, shall I say. But instead, I'm going to be concise out of respect for everyone's time, and I want to just say three things. Three things that are important, in my opinion, that I want to share with the board, with the public, with the manager, and with staff. I believe that your next county attorney will be successful regardless of who you choose. You have outstanding choices, outstanding candidates. There are no bad choices, as I told the staff the other day. It was the same choice for the county manager. However, I do believe that there are three ingredients in particular that will make your next county attorney most successful. I do not claim or pretend to be the only attorney who can offer these three things. I would not say that, but I do believe that I am one candidate who can. Number one will be the strong command of general purpose government. The scope and breadth of issues that county government deals with, especially a charter county like Seminole, is vast, and that scope grows every day. The complexity of it grows every day, even as we face preemption bills, even as we face changing dynamics in Tallahassee. I am board certified in local government, which I'm proud to say. I also have a strong and immediate ability to come in, work with the manager on topics ranging from fire and EMS, dealing with MSTUs, labor union matters, whole 9 yards, parks and rec. We've recently finalized an $84 million park, as well as a concessionaire agreement in Clearwater, private-public partnerships, and major real estate developments, including referenda. So I feel that I'll be able to immediately come in, partner with the manager. It will be a smooth, comfortable, and quick transition from the knowledge standpoint. The second ingredient that I believe will make the next attorney successful will be the strong ties to Seminole County. Every county in Florida has their unique aspects, and yes, that's true for Seminole as well. But there are two components as to why the ties to Seminole County are so important. First, there is the knowledge of the county. It's not just our topography, which is unique. It's not just our demographics. It's the history of issues involving the rural boundary, for example. It is the history of the intergovernmental relations, which in my opinion have been very strong over a span of many years, and which I know will continue with Mr. Gray at the helm as our manager. Beyond that, there is a level of emotional attachment to the county that cannot be replicated unless you actually live here. I spent my entire childhood here. I grew up in Seminole County. I know I will regret saying this, but I have lived in 4 of the 5 commission districts. Don't ask me which one I haven't lived in. But I have lived in 4 of the 5 commission districts in Seminole County, and my parents still live here today. I am not only invested in Seminole County because of my past, and I not only want to help the board and the manager preserve this incredible place for future generations and future families, but in fact, it is my present family who is here as well. You can pay a lawyer to represent you, but you cannot pay someone to believe. I believe in Seminole County. So that is the second ingredient. And the third that I believe will make someone successful in this role will be the appropriate leadership background. I can tell you, having had both the number 2 and number 1 spots, there is a real difference between them. When you are in the number 1 spot, as I am in Clearwater, I am accountable to many bosses with many diverse perspectives, and also to the manager. Even though the manager is not my boss, we had a great conversation about what partnership looks like. My current city manager and I are very close. We are in lockstep with each other. I will, with great reluctance, offer her as a reference. When I say with great reluctance, it is only because I know that she does not want to see me go. So I believe that having that number 1 leadership experience, being accountable to a philosophically or ideologically diverse board, as I have, will be helpful, and understanding the manager's role as our chief executive, which I will support, and I've given Darren my word on that privately, and I will say it publicly in front of this board as well. So those are the 3 things that I would hope to bring to the role: the strong command of general purpose local government, the strong ties to Seminole County, which, by the way, I will offer as part of an employment agreement, a commitment to establish residency in Seminole County. I know that it is not a requirement of the charter for as it is for the manager and the board, but I see coming to Seminole County as a benefit. This is not a burden to me. This is not an obligation. I'm doing this because I want to come home. So I will gladly agree in an employment agreement that I will establish and maintain residency here in Seminole County. And finally, that leadership background. That said, I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Great. Thank you so much. Any questions for Mr. Margolis? Any comments? I enjoyed very much the time that we had to talk together. Love your passion for this community. And unless there's nothing else, Mr. Zembauer.
I do have a comment. I sincerely enjoyed our interview today. I find that you have a high energy drive. You obviously have a passion for what you do. It's very, very obvious to me that you are doing good work where you're at and will do good work regardless of where you end up. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to consider coming to Seminole County. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Constantine.
David, you just left my office, and it was a pleasure. Whatever happens, I just want you to know that I really appreciate your love and passion for Seminole County. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. David, I as well appreciated the time we spent today together, getting to know each other. You have a wide breadth of experience, which I know would serve anyone, any government well, and look forward to seeing what's going to happen. But I wanted to thank you for the information that you gave me and the time we spent together.
Thank you very much.
Very well done.
You feel compelled.
Clearly, this is, because I would hate for a Seminole County native to leave here thinking that the District 5 Commissioner, which may be the area that he didn't reside in, doesn't feel the same way. I would tell you that if I look at the pool of candidates, I would certainly call you out as being the bravest, and I did this in our one-on-one. But anybody that walks into a new role and tackles outside counsel aggressively and puts in a merit pay program in the short amount of time that you've been in that organization, absolutely commendable and stand out. And so I give full credit for that. Thoroughly enjoyed our time together. Good luck.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Our next candidate is Mr. Alexander Boxner.
Welcome.
Thank you.
If you would, just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then if the board has any questions, we'll go from there.
Will do.
All right.
First and foremost, thank you for having me here. It's been a great two-day experience. Loved meeting the staff at the County Attorney's Office. Everyone has been wonderful, and I really enjoyed my time here, and thank you for having me here. So a little bit about myself. I am currently the Deputy County Attorney for Sarasota County. Prior to that, I was primarily over on the East Coast representing the city of Miami Beach, and I also did a lot of, and then after that I also did some work for some towns and cities all over in Palm Beach County with a private law firm. And before that, I was up in Marion County and also in Charlotte County. So I've had both county work experience and, of course, city work experience. I've tried to get myself involved in almost every possible governmental issue. I've seen quite a bit, experienced quite a lot, and ultimately I'm happy to be here and hopefully working with you all in the very future.
All right. Thank you so much. Any questions for Mr. Boxner? Any comments? Commissioner Herr.
I do actually have a question for Mr. Boxner. Can you give me an example and then tie it to maybe a future action of how you've expanded legal knowledge within an organization to perhaps change the culture within that organization from a legal perspective?
And now you're probably referring to, and just for clarification, in the sense of maybe identifying a new legal experience or a new legal issue that we were facing, if I understand that correctly, and being
Broadening knowledge within the organization.
I understand. Primarily, I've had the opportunity to supervise other lawyers, younger lawyers, and by broadening that responsibility, I always try to make sure that I give them the ability to do other things other than maybe what they have experience in doing. So in that regard, I will bring them in, and ultimately, a prime example is utilizing a transactional lawyer who may have done only transaction and have them involved in a contract dispute and litigation And that provides a little bit of a different perspective, provides a bit of cross-training, and it really assists in being able to really understand the legal challenges if there is, in fact, litigation and there is a lawsuit, and how that ultimately that lawsuit. And that allows them to look at it from a different perspective when they're in the contract process and they're negotiating terms and conditions, so that it's more beneficial to the governmental agency if we are, in fact, sued.
Thank you.
Commissioner Delory.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I really appreciated our time we spoke together today. Wide range of experience, which I think would do well in any organization. One of the things we have here in Seminole County we talk about all the time is land use. Can you give us a little bit of talk to us about a little bit of your land use experience?
So my land use experience has been, I've been doing that for quite a bit of time, in the sense of handling land use litigation. I've handled land use litigation involving what is called littoral takings. That has to do with the taking of, essentially the access to the beach, the views to the beach. That was done in Miami Beach. I've also handled litigation in the sense of under Byrd-Harris Act in Charlotte County. I've handled litigation in Miami Beach when there was a challenge to certain rights and they're being able to do those rights. I've handled litigation where the governmental entity had enacted regulations to reduce what they can and cannot do in regards to their property, whether it's a business regulation or something to that effect. I was responsible for overseeing that litigation. In fact, I was personally sued by someone as a result of action that was taken where we limited the ability for them to have alcoholic beverage establishments within a certain zoning district in the city of Miami Beach. That resulted in federal litigation. We were, in fact, successful in that litigation, and that's a result of my involvement, as far as I'm concerned, in making sure that I shepherded through to a very successful conclusion. So I've been handling litigation for quite a bit of time. Not so much right now in the city of Sarasota. We do have, the county of Sarasota, we do have someone that does the land use litigation, but I do, in fact, oversee him and what ultimately may be done in furtherance of a successful result.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Comments? No? All right. Mr. Boxner, I really enjoyed getting to meet you. We both have spent quite a bit of time in South Florida, having been a South Florida native, and your time down in the lower third. It certainly, I love the fact that you have had the experience of being in that type of an urban setting, and then Charlotte County and Marion County. I think you have a great variety of experience to offer, and I appreciate very much that you're a part of this process.
And I want to thank you all again. It was a great experience. Certainly, in speaking with the county manager, it was great. Kind of, touching on some of the things that, in the event that you were to select me, kind of my approach, how I handle it, an all-inclusive type of approach, making sure that get on the forefront so we're not dealing with those things happening at the end of the week, which I think I've mentioned to you all. That's never a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Friday afternoon drops are not good.
They're not fun.
No.
And I've been doing it long enough that I've experienced it quite often.
Thank you. If there aren't any other questions or comments,
Thank you.
thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Ms. Kate Latour.
Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. If you would share with us a little bit about your background, and then if any of the commissioners have questions or comments, we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. Nice to see you all again. First of all, thank you so much for your consideration of my candidacy for the county attorney. It's an honor to be considered among all of the candidates. You have a stellar group in front of you. It's been great getting to know you earlier today and to learn a little bit more about you and what you think is important to Seminole County. My background, I've been practicing law in local government for about 20 years in Central Florida. Started out in private practice for a law firm that had multiple municipal and school board clients. So I kind of fell into local government that way. And it was there that I learned day-to-day how to represent a local government. You know, when you're a local government attorney, you have to know a little bit about a lot of things. So, and then some days you learn more about certain things when those are the issues of the day. So it was there that I really got my feet wet doing that, and also sitting in the hot seat representing boards, city councils, planning and zoning boards, boards of adjustment, code enforcement board. If there was a board, I sat up there as the attorney giving advice on the fly, which is a bit of an art form. Got to know when to answer the question, when you know the answer, and when to defer and not answer the question if you need more time. So definitely got a lot of practice in that area. And I did that for about 11 years. And also at that time, I became board certified by the Florida Bar in city, county, local government law. And then when a position opened up in Orange County in 2014, I went for it, made the move. Public sector was definitely the place for me. I really love working at Orange County. I have worked my way up in Orange County's attorney's office. I'm currently a senior assistant county attorney over several attorneys and paralegals that do a variety of transactional work. My section assists pretty much every division and department in Orange County, from Parks and Rec to finance, procurement, real estate management. If it's a division, my section assists with that, with the legal work for those divisions. I really enjoy working in the public sector, the collaborative environment, the team environment. I've learned a lot from the professionals that I work with. I don't just work with attorneys every day. I get to work with engineers and doctors and social workers, and I love it. I would love to be able to do the same thing here, to take my knowledge and my expertise to Seminole County. So when this position opened up, I thought, this is kind of tailor-made for me, and here I am. And I'm almost a lifelong Seminole County resident, about 40 years here. So I went to school here, my kids are being raised here, and I would love to be able to represent Seminole County as the county attorney. And thank you again, sincerely, for your consideration.
Fantastic. Any questions for Ms. Latour? Commissioner Herr, Commissioner Zembauer, then Commissioner Delary.
I do have a question. Can you give us an example and then tell us how you would use that same skill here of how you've expanded the knowledge of legal services culturally through the organization?
Through my current organization, through Orange County?
Any organization.
Expanded the knowledge of legal services through the organization. Well, I think it's important to make it known to your client, the divisions and the departments, through management or supervisors, that the legal services is there to assist and to make ourselves known on the front end of projects instead of being contacted, you know, when something's going wrong or when someone's hit a wall. So you want to be there. I envision a county attorney's office is like an internal law firm, right? The clients are the divisions. The clients are the board, the county manager, and you have to kind of juggle those put the puzzle pieces together to properly represent the board, the manager, and the divisions. So you want to make it known that we're here to service the client, which is the staff.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Zembauer.
Thank you very much, and Ms. Latour, I enjoyed the time we spent today. And I've got one question that we covered earlier today, and I appreciate you being a good sport in my questions. As you clearly understood, my questions were probably much different than some of my fellow commissioners. So I want to make sure that we have the answer that I think I got, which was, and please bear with me, my fellow commissioners.
You're not going to get us sued, are you?
No.
Okay, good.
Thank you for asking that question, Madam.
That's what we were all thinking.
I don't know why y'all would think that. If you have 7 white socks and 9 black socks in a drawer, how many socks do you have to pull out blindly in order to ensure that you have a matching pair?
I think I said 3.
Okay. Want to make sure that's your answer. Thank you.
Commissioner Delary.
Well, Madam Chair, I'm proud to announce that I'm not going to be asking questions about math or about socks. So rest assured that I'm not going in that direction. In talking to Catherine, she has a wide variety of experience, but I'd like for her to expound upon her land use experience, please.
Okay, sure. I have over 10 years of land use experience, primarily when I was an assistant city attorney for all those years, and many of those years were during the development boom in the early 2000s, where I sat through dozens and dozens and dozens of public hearings on new development, on comp plan changes, rezonings, variances and special exceptions. I am highly experienced in helping conduct a quasi-judicial hearing, what that requires, what the criteria must be met, and the standard of review that must be met when you're considering those sorts of applications. Land use is not new to me, and I would be completely comfortable stepping into that role as a county attorney.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I thoroughly enjoyed our time together. It was wonderful to get to talk about your history here, your work history, the things that I think that you would bring to this organization or any organization, frankly. I think it was really a good thing to have you as a part of this process. And my other commissioners asked great questions.
And for
They
the
said there
record-
would be no math, by the
And for
way.
the record, that was not a math question, just so you,
No.
it's definitely not a math question.
Seems like an SAT question to me. I'm pretty sure I got it wrong, but
No, actually, you got it right.
We appreciate you being here. If there aren't any other questions, we'll thank you for your
okay,
time.
again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate being
Yeah.
here.
Do we get to debate the answer to that question later?
If you'd like to.
It wasn't 7 white and 3 black. Was it 7 white and 3
9
black?
black.
9 black
7
and
white,
7
9
white.
7 white, 9 black, blindly pulled from a drawer.
It's 8.
I would not have gotten it right.
Yes, you would. Just think
Our
about it.
next candidate is Mr. Desmond Morrell.
Welcome, Mr. Morrell.
Thank you all. Good afternoon, commissioners. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, to our new county manager, Mr. Darren Gray, as well as our county attorney. Thank you all for the opportunity to interview with you all. I look forward to answering any additional questions that you all may have. As you all know, I am an internal candidate, and I'm more than happy to share the wealth of experience that I've gained here with this organization. I will not take up too much of your time by going through the litany of items that I've worked on with you all. However, I will say that I'm happy to answer any of those questions, to provide details on any of those projects, those departments that I work on, or any of the colleagues that I work with. I will be the first to say, I'm not sure how some of the other interviews have gone today. I will say that I've been very, very humbled and happy to have the opportunity to meet with you all individually. I think we had an opportunity to peel back a little bit of the onion there. I think you all got a chance to see a little bit more about me, more than what meets the eye. I know some of us exchanged some pleasantries, some anecdotal stories, and in one of my interviews, I even received some wonderful travel tips. So thank you for that, Commissioner Delary. But with that said, commissioners, I'm happy to open up the floor and answer any additional questions that you all may have.
Great. Commissioner Zembauer.
I don't have any questions. Thank you for considering putting your name. I know that's a big leap of faith to do that. And I just want to say that in the 5 years that I've been here, I am very proud to have seen your progress and how you've grown in the county attorney's office. I think most of us would agree we're very proud of your acumen and what you've done on behalf of this county. And the citizens of this county should be very happy and very proud knowing that we have young people that are excelling in our county attorney's office. And I thank you very much for that, very much.
Thank you for the kind words.
Absolutely. Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to echo what Commissioner Zembauer was talking about. Your leadership style is noticed. A number of years ago, and I forget which hurricane it was, I know that you were at the EOC for a number of nights, and your leadership and the command of the situation during a hurricane did not go unnoticed by many of us. We saw that. You are truly an inspiration to many people, and I want to thank you for that. I would like to ask you the same question I've been asking the other candidates. I didn't ask the first one, but I'll ask you. Can you just talk to us a little bit about your land use experience?
Sure. So I've had the distinct privilege to work under one of the preeminent land use experts within the state, and that individual happens to be sitting just a few seats down from you all. Mr. Chipok and I started at the county together a little over 8 years ago. From the moment I started, worked under the tutelage of Paul, and he has just been a wealth of knowledge. And I don't know if I'm soaking that knowledge up through osmosis, whether those phone calls are just loud enough, or whether I've been copied on enough emails. But I can thoroughly say that I've gleaned so much from working with Paul. And in addition to that, I've had the unique opportunity to serve for the various boards that we have, the Planning and Zoning Commission, our Board of Adjustments, sitting with the Development Review Committee as we prepare some of these projects, and that allowed me to see them from inception all the way through. So combining that firsthand practical knowledge that I've gotten here, along with some of the CLEs that I've attended for that intentional exposure to some of the areas within land use that I may not have seen or I may not have overheard from Mr. Chipok. So the combination of those two has really brought me up to speed. But I'll be the first to admit, you know, we're looking at an individual with 30+ years of experience. So my 8 years of working diligently under him has done a lot to make me what I consider dangerous, but there's still a way to go until I get to that expert level of understanding. So I welcome the opportunity to continue to hone those skills, and I look forward to some continued mentorship by Mr. Paul Chipok.
Well, I will tell you, Mr. Morrell, that with your vast knowledge, you're very humble. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Desmond.
Any other questions? Commissioner Hurd?
I'll ask my question in terms of the, have you been standing out in the hallway? Have you heard the question already?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not heard any
So
of the.
I don't feel the need to, oh, you turned them off. Question about an experience in the past and how it would transition into the future of expanding the legal knowledge within the organization. So a cultural expansion through an organization of the services available in the organization.
Sure. So I do have a few strategic initiatives that I would like to implement should I become the county attorney. I recognize that we have a pretty well-oiled machine, but I also recognize that there's areas of improvement, opportunities for improvement. But before I set out on any, arduous or massive endeavors to really overhaul or reshape the office, I think the first thing we need to do is sit down and take a critical evaluation of what it is that is going on here. I'm able to glean a lot from the office because I do work within. I work as a senior assistant county attorney, but I'm not at the top. So I recognize that there are some areas that I just may not be aware of. So my goal would be to get in, to have a thorough evaluation and analysis of the office, and then to start implementing some of the ideas that I have, if those are necessary. Some of those ideas include standing 15-minute meetings on a weekly basis with each of the attorneys. I think that'll do a lot to promote intentional communication, not only within our office, but allowing that information to trickle through me to you all, whether it be in my meetings with the county manager, whether it be briefings or subsequent meetings with you all. I think it's important that I have a pulse on that office, and I am able to update you at least on a weekly basis as to what is going on within my office. Ideally, there are no updates. Ideally, everything's running smooth. Ideally, you all know everything that is going on. But I recognize there are times where there's just that lapse of communication. And I want to do everything that I can to ensure that there is some level of transparency there within our office. In addition to that, I want to ensure that we have the tools to really pinch hit. I know that's a sports analogy that everyone might not follow, but when I say pinch hit, I mean the ability to stand in place of an attorney in their absence. So we do have a solid office here. However, I do understand that there has not always been that intentional cross-training. We've had ad hoc cross-training, as you heard me joke a bit. Paul and I have a really good relationship, and I've been able to glean a ton of information from him, but I want to make sure that that is intentional, whether that means we ensure that our attorneys are going to attending various CLEs, whether that means we have specific carved-out times, whether it's on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis, to ensure that we are meeting as a team to discuss whether it's new statutes, new laws, best practices, networking opportunities, or any other opportunity to really improve upon the office. But Commissioner Hurd, to be quite frank, we can't do any of that until a thorough analysis and an evaluation is had.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Desmond, I really, really appreciate your candor and the time that we had to talk together today. I went and I shared with you, having worked with you over the last many years, I don't think I really realized until I started to totally digest your resume all of the things that you have been responsible for and the things that you have shouldered in your position. And I thanked you privately, and I want to thank you publicly for all of the hard work that you have put in and for the mentorship that you have provided others. That's huge. And I think that comes just, I think it's who you are. I think it's a part of the fiber of your being that you are paying it forward. And I have no doubt that in this role or any other that you would be an incredible leader. So thank you.
Thank you so much for those words, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? No. Thank you, Mr. Morrell.
Again, thank you all for the opportunity. I look forward to the decision that you all make, and I know that regardless of the decision, that'll only make for a stronger county attorney's office. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Desmond.
Our next candidate is Mr. Woody Rodriguez.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Had a great opportunity today to get acquainted with all of you. As a lawyer, you'll hear something you probably don't hear very often. I'll be very brief.
You're right about that.
I think Commissioner Delary started me off this morning telling me, I've seen the resume, you're all qualified, so let's not get into too many details about those. So I will spare you those factors as well. But the one thing I'll leave you with is I do have a tremendous amount of experience. I think would be invaluable for this organization. 14 plus years of being general counsel, plus if you had some years with Bill Cow's office. At some point, I realized I was the only guy with a name on his shirt, and Cow's was nowhere to be found, and people kept coming up to me and asking me questions. I'm just a lawyer. And it turned out it was because he was in an election, so he turned all the responsibilities over to me. But have had a great relationship with my clients in the past, and enjoy city, county, public government law, everything from the Senate to what I've done now. So glad to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioners, any questions, comments? Commissioner Delary?
Thank you. Woody, it was a pleasure getting to know you today. First time we've ever met, and I really enjoyed the conversations that we've had. With your vast knowledge of local government, can you expound on your experience about land use?
Sure. So at the school board specifically, when I worked at the county attorney's office, my litigation that I handled was not in land use. It was all predominantly was code enforcement. We had a smattering of whatever came in, a lot of eminent domain. But with the school board at some point, we had a large piece of property we had acquired for about 7 million years before. Regretfully, we had to sue the county commission, not a popular decision by any means, and we had to go through that entire process, including the provisions in Florida law that require both boards to meet. Not a happy experience there either, but we got through it eventually. We went through a mediation process. We got rejected on a couple of votes, had to enforce the law on behalf of my client, And through that process, obviously became a little bit more familiar with land use, but all of our concurrency issues that we had a lot of experience in being able to understand that. I've watched some of your county commission meetings, and you seem to have a great land use attorney already in the room, in Paul Chipock. I know he may not be here forever, but that's one of the strengths, I think, of this organization, and I do have some background in that. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Herr.
Woody, again, thank you for being here. Just, can you give us an example of where you have expanded the knowledge of legal services culturally through an organization to better the organization?
Sure. So when I started at the school board, we had had an outside counsel for a number of years. It was the Office of the General Counsel, and actually within a couple of years, we changed it to the Office of Legal Services. I know I've shared that story with some of you. But it was important to me because the General Counsel was perceived as a person that showed up every time there was a problem, there was an issue, maybe you were getting fired, maybe there was something wrong. And we wanted to make sure that all of our constituents within the organization, 25,000 employees and parents and so forth, that they knew that we were there to provide legal services for the organization. So about year 3, we had about 4 or 5 lawyers by then. I instituted what was called Legal 101, and that meant putting all of our principals initially through the paces of actually sitting in a classroom at East River High School and attending classes all day. And every 50 minutes, they would change. They even had a lunch in the cafeteria, brokered a deal with our food and nutrition person and said, hey, if you give me free lunch, I'll give you an opportunity to talk to them about some of the things you want to talk to them about. But they didn't even have an opportunity to capture all of the principles. Well, by year 3, it was insanely popular, and we had to expand it to about 3 different days to include our assistant principals, and then subsequently we expanded it to some of our administrative personnel. But it not only educated our principals and assistant principals, some of which were dealing with issues like someone showing up at a school trying to take a child out with a fake document. Those issues should not have been handled by inexperienced personnel, receptionists or otherwise. They should be calling our office, and we wanted to make sure that that connection was there. But I also wanted my lawyers to be highlighted, and we wanted to showcase their talents. So that someone knew, I've got an ESE issue, they don't call me necessarily. They can call Sarah Corin, who was our ESE expert. If they had an issue with labor and employment, they could call the labor and employment lawyer directly and even get a quicker response. Because as general counsel, I wasn't always available to handle those kinds of questions. So that was one of the changes we instituted that I was quite proud of.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Mr. Rodriguez, it was a wonderful opportunity to interview with you today, and we had some great conversations, and I'm very glad that you're a part of this process, and certainly appreciate your time.
I appreciate it as well. This would be a tremendous accomplishment for myself as well. I mean, the position of county attorney, having known Bryant for years, is one of those positions that I think as a young county attorney working with him, I think we all dreamt of that at some point. But anyways, thank you for your time today and this week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you.
And our final candidate today is Mr. David Shields.
Welcome.
Thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity to speak to you about the very important task before you of filling the county attorney's position. I am going to tell you a little bit about myself, but I want to do that in the context of a question. What is the best way for a non-attorney to choose an attorney to represent him? The best way is if you've used that attorney before and you had good results, you had good communication with that attorney didn't make you cringe during the course of his representation, and you had good results, I would say that is a very logical and perhaps compelling reason to keep that attorney on the job. Now, maybe You haven't used an attorney before, or maybe you haven't used an attorney in a long time. What's the next best way to choose an attorney? It's to go to people you know and trust and ask for references. I handled my first legal matter for Seminole County some 17 years ago. I've been representing Seminole County continuously ever since. I've handled contracts with private entities, interlocal agreements, ordinances, administrative code provisions, real estate transactions, litigation, including eminent domain, bankruptcy, and other matters. I think I filled up quite a number of lines on my resume with the full list, so I'll just move on to my next point. I will highlight what I think are my best accomplishments in the last 17 years. In 2010, we had a boundary dispute. We were not able to resolve it. We had to go to trial. I handled it by myself. There was no outside counsel to assist me. I got the evidence together. I got the experts together. I knew where we needed to go with that case. And before the trial, I wrote up a 17-page proposed final judgment with detailed findings of facts and conclusions of law. I was looking into a crystal ball and hoping the trial would go just the way I wrote it up. Well, everything fell into place. I got the evidence in, I got the expert testimony in. At closing argument, I handed a copy of the proposed final judgment to the judge, walked the judge through the final judgment, and a few days later, the judge signed the final judgment without any changes to it. My other favored accomplishment was our noise ordinance. We had a big problem with noise in the county, and I was asked to deal with it. Well, I could see immediately this wasn't just a legal problem. This is a matter of technology and nature, and I would need a scientist or an engineer to help me. And fortunately, we were able to find an acoustical engineer that I was able to work with. She could not have written that ordinance by herself. I couldn't have written it by myself. But working together with the acoustical engineer, with development services staff, with the sheriffs, the team put together a really good product. And from what I understand, I should say from what I hear, I'm not hearing noise around the county anymore, at least people complaining about noise around the county. I was curious, and I have records of the work that I've done at the county over the last 17 years. And I did a little calculation. I don't have an exact number for you, but I'm going to estimate conservatively. Over the last 17 years, I have handled over 3,000 legal matters for Seminole County. Again, everything from contracts to litigation, you name it. Now, I covered the first part of my opening, the experience of the attorney, but we haven't checked the references yet. In this building, I think you will find numerous people who would give me a good reference because I have worked with them, many of them for years. We've spent long hours trying to solve the county's problems. I'm very proud to have worked with them and to continue to work with them. But if that's not enough, let's go across the street to the purchasing building because there's more references over there. And if there's not enough references at the purchasing building, let's go downtown to the engineering building where we have real estate management, engineering, and leisure services. There's more references there. If it's still not enough, let's go south to 5 Points in the Central Transfer Station and Reflections, environmental services, community services, the fire department, the emergency management. I've worked with all of them. They're great people. They're wonderful people. I just could not be more proud to have represented those folks. And when we're done with that tour, we can end up at our wonderful Yarborough Center out in Geneva, which was the field headquarters for that boundary dispute case because the boundary in dispute was one of the boundaries of the Lake Harney wilderness areas. All of that is Seminole County experience, but I have another half of my professional life where I was representing individuals and businesses. I did commercial litigation, bankruptcy. I eventually got into homeowners and condominium association work. There were many occasions where I attended one of a homeowners or condominium association, and I felt like I was the person standing between order and chaos. I know we have opinions about homeowners associations and so forth, but I really got a lot of satisfaction in helping people who are really trying hard to make their communities work and to help facilitate what they're trying to do. So all of this leads up to a large body of legal knowledge, of knowledge about Seminole County. I am intensely focused on good legal writing because there's so much bad legal writing out there. I am always after it. I have negotiation and litigation skills, all of those things put together in a package. I could talk more about specific cases that I've handled, but we don't know what the next major legal problem for Seminole County would be. I had never handled a boundary dispute case before the Lake Harney Wilderness matter, and I seriously doubt that we'll have another one. I hope we don't. But the point is, I had to learn the facts of that case. I had to learn the law. It was complicated. It involved the 19th century laying out of the government section lines, townships and ranges and so forth. I had to learn all of that, and then I had to put it together in a way that I could explain it to the court. I had to be organized. If we get a new problem, it's going to start off as a big mess. Somebody is going to have to go in, untangle it, get the facts, organize the facts, do the legal research, repeat those steps as necessary until you get a handle on the problem and a possible solution, and just keep going. Hopefully, in a lot of these matters, we can resort first to negotiation to try to get to the bottom of the matter and get it resolved without litigation. But if we have to litigate, we'll be ready to litigate. So if I'm the next county attorney, all of this will be brought to bear on the office, not just for me, but the team. Brian Applegate has put together a great team. It would be the privilege of a lifetime to inherit that team and take them forward. So I wish you well in making this important decision. And again, I thank you for your time to let me present this overview.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Shields? Commissioner Zembauer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. David, thank you very much, and I've been very impressed with the work that you've done that I've observed. I know that you're very meticulous and very thorough in your review process. The question I have is how would you build trust, generate buy-in, and develop a plan for your first 90 days for the county attorney's office?
Well, I would be meeting with the attorneys. We just today, we're already thinking about how we might be reorganizing the work assignments. I would be talking to each and every one of them, find out what they're interested in. If there is a way that if a particular attorney is interested in a particular area, maybe we could shift that attorney over to that attorney's area of interest and give them a shot at it. I don't want to be dictating the assignments on high. I would like to get input from the attorneys as to their interests and see what we can do to accommodate those interests. The other thing that I would be working on is robustness and redundancy. Sometimes we are organized by departments, and that's so that a department who has a question or a representative who has a question knows who to call, and that's a good way to do things. We will continue to do that, but what I would like to see, to the extent possible, if one department has a surge of work, that the one attorney assigned to that department doesn't get buried by that surge, that there will be reinforcements, even if it's just me being the reinforcement. We will not have a weak position along the line anywhere.
Thank you.
Commissioner Delory.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. David, thank you very much for not only applying, but all the hard work you've done for this county over the many years that you've been with us. Can you talk a little bit about your land use experience, please?
Well, it started as a volunteer on the City of Altamont Springs, first the Board of Zoning Appeals, and then the Planning Board. I was on the Zoning Board for 10 years and the Planning Board for another 5 years. That was just a marvelous opportunity, a marvelous educational opportunity. The city really appreciated me being on those boards. When I finally came to the county, it seemed like, well, you know, maybe I wanted to continue, but it just didn't seem like that would work. They begged me to stay, but I said, well, maybe when I retire and I'm still a citizen of Altamont Springs, maybe I can come back then. But that was the lead into it. One thing that maybe a lot of people don't realize, eminent domain, inside of it, there's a whole bunch of land use. Because when you're talking about valuing property for eminent domain purposes, it gets very complicated and extensive. And a lot of, when you read one of those appraisals in eminent domain, a lot of this discussion is about zoning and future land use and concurrency and all that kind of stuff. So I've had exposure first through the volunteer activity and then through all the eminent domain work. Also, there have been a couple of occasions where I have had to step in and take over the Development Services Department as an attorney. In 2008, the assigned attorney had to go on medical leave for a few months, so Bob McMillan had me stand in during that time. And then in the 2 or 3 months prior to Mr. Chipak arriving, we had a vacancy there, and I had to cover development services then. So I've made the rounds on land use. It's a very important subject. We've got 345 square miles of land, a population approaching 500,000. Land use is going to be front and center in the years ahead.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Herr.
David, can you give an example of a time when you were able to expand the knowledge culturally through an organization of legal services and the role?
I'm sorry, I'm not following the question.
So expanding the knowledge of what that department does and how that department does it through an organization.
So you're talking about one of the Seminole County departments?
No, the legal department.
Oh, our legal department.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I think everybody in the legal department is maybe sometimes tires of me raising the issues of let's get the legal drafting right. Let's use standard English grammar. Let's don't misuse words. I've been working on that. I get things to review. I've made presentations to both our staff. I've made presentations to attorney groups on this. Sometimes it seems like a futile endeavor because we seem to still get this, at least from the outside. But from the inside, at least, I think we're making a lot of strides in that way.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Mr. Shields? No. David, I want to thank you so much for the time that we had today to interview and spend some time one-on-one. I know you have put in many, many years of love for this county, and having been a citizen for so many years, it's just, it's wonderful when we know we have people who are serving alongside us who care as much about this county as we do, and it makes a difference in the outcome of the work for sure. So thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you for listening to me.
Absolutely.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Any public?
Well, we're going to go ahead and call for any input from the public. If there's anyone here who would like to make comment. For the record, there are no members of the public here. They were certainly welcome to be here, and we would have loved their input, but seeing no one to give public comment, we'll close public comment.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Zembauer.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I got to say, Ms. Narlock has brought us a fantastic roster of candidates, including our internal candidates. And I got to tell you, and I'm sure my fellow commissioners have the same belief, this is a tough decision. There are a number of qualified candidates. This is not like, you've got one at the top and a few in the middle and a bunch at the bottom. We've got several candidates here that would make great candidates for county attorney, not only this county, but other counties. And I thank you for that. That speaks volumes to your abilities and your leadership and getting those here. So with that said, I will move a motion to ask Ms. Catherine Kate Latore to be our next county manager and work with Ms. Narlock to negotiate a contract along with
County attorney?
Commissioner Herr.
County attorney?
Okay, let me get there.
Or you said county manager.
I'm sorry, county attorney, sorry.
Darren's packing his bag at your speed.
And work with Commissioner Herr in negotiating that contract as she did with the county manager. I think that would be in the best interest. So I will move that motion forward.
So
Could make a comment, I'm sorry.
well, you go ahead and say what you were going to say.
I was going to second it, but I won't do that just yet because you just started a sentence.
I would love for us to be able to have some discussion. There might have been some
Sure.
things that we might each want to share about our individual times with each of these candidates, certainly feedback that we may have received from other members of the process. Not to say that your motion is not
sure.
the right motion, but
No.
we certainly want to flesh this out and give it the appropriate
Sure.
amount of time.
Yeah,
So
my expectation would be we'd have a motion. If there was a second, we'd go to discussion and call the vote. But whatever you want to do, Madam Chair, is fine with me.
I'd love it if there are any commissioners who have anything from their experience through this interview process that they would like to share. I think we want to give an opportunity to do that. Commissioner Herr, Commissioner Constantine. Commissioner Constantine put his hand up. Go ahead. Commissioner, I just called on Commissioner Herr because she was sitting right next to me. I was going to go down the line, but we'll start at that end.
Line this way.
We'll do it that way.
Don't bother me.
I can jump back and forth.
First of all, I want to concur with the comments that were made by my fellow Commissioner Zembauer on the quality of the candidates. Renee, you've done it again,
Thank you, Commissioner.
and I certainly am very appreciative of it. The second highlight, I guess I would like to make is I am so proud of the fact that all of these candidates wanted so desperately to work here in Seminole County. It's a testament to you, Bryant, and what you've been able to accomplish as far as with the camaraderie and the skills that you've brought forth with all the members of your staff. And of course, the fact of the reputation that you have made statewide. And so I wanted to congratulate you on that publicly. But it's also a testament to how 3 of them actually went to school here. And they wanted to come back. And as I used the word desperately before, but they really did. They want to come back. And quite frankly, I would, if we had the chance, I'd hire all of them. I really would. I mean, I think that every one of them brought something to the table that could be of great use and benefit to Seminole County. And the fact of the matter is if we had, we have an all-star team in our attorney's office right now. Any one of them would be a great addition. All of them would be great. We'd have an all-star team. We really would. Saying that, I also want to tell you that, again, for this position, I truly think we could have hired any one of them also, and we would have been comfortable with the selection process. But I do believe that the motion put forth, I don't think there's a second yet, is there? But the motion put forth is one that I probably would have made also, given the chance. With all due respect, I think that each and every one of them have a great deal to bring to the table. And I would have been comfortable in making a motion for at least 4 others, maybe 5, maybe all other 5. But the fact of the matter is I think that moving forward, looking at the total picture, I think that the motion that has been made and the individual that has been put forth would be, for now, the best person we could select.
Any other comments?
Up to you, Madam Chair, who speaks next?
Well, we were going to come down the road.
I didn't know that. That's why I'm asking.
I'm sorry. Yep, we'll start at that end.
You've already said something.
You've already said
I don't have anything else to add.
You're good. Commissioner Delary?
One time
I just didn't want to
say
step
that
on
to you.
anyone's toes, Madam Chair. My comments is first, I want to thank Renee. Her selection and helping us with the county manager was truly amazing, and to think that she could do that again, I'm happy that she did, don't get me wrong, but I'm ecstatic that she did, and she is truly amazing on how she puts candidates together and how she finds them, so I want to thank her. Your level of expertise and the way you shepherd candidates through is noticed, and you truly should be commended for that, so I want to say thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
The attention to detail on how you put the package together and how you actually help select. And every time I interviewed each one of them, I says, you making the short list, it's truly amazing how each one of you are so qualified. Each one of you, there's a reason why you made the short list. And I know that Renee vetted every one of you in great detail. And as Commissioner Constantine said, that, to thank Mr. Applegate, it truly goes to the testament of all the things that you've done the past years here, Mr. Applegate. Not that Paul's been anything less, but Mr. Applegate, every one person that I interviewed stated that, first of all, they couldn't believe that Mr. Applegate was retiring. Number 2, they were all just in awe of what you've done in that department over the years, in a good way. And your leadership and your knowledge, it was an opportunity that they could not pass up, and they wanted to continue that. And as Mr. Constantine has stated, was that any one of them could do the job. I think any one of them is more than qualified. They're all phenomenal candidates. And I think we're going to be moving forward, and I believe that they'll do the county well. And it's nice that there are many candidates that's before us that are a product of an education system here in Seminole County that shows all the wonderful things that have happened. And it proves that it's not just a wonderful place to live, work, and play, but it's a great place to flourish and have leadership. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the next county attorney would do.
We keep trying to replace poor Darren. I'm so sorry.
I'm still here, I promise.
You're not going anywhere. We've always talked about the county manager, so sometimes it's hard to switch to county attorney. I'm sorry, Darren.
Commissioner Herr.
I don't think I heard a position in there, but, so I have a little bit of a different perspective from you all, First of all, Renee, I was actually expecting to walk into the room today and have the chairman have set up a dartboard, because I really think that's probably our best methodology, because really, one candidate is as good as the other candidates. It's just a question of fit and time, as Commissioner Constantine referenced. It's for now, what is the best option for us? I had two that I think stood out in terms of that fit and in our point in time and where we are in terms of not only the county, but the citizens' expectations and where we need to go and how fast we need to get there. And then in terms of serving a new county manager, I think there's a difference now and maybe a little bit of a culture change that's happening, which is why I kept asking the culture question. But I will point out that the acknowledgement of culture was addressed by one of the candidates. And so I had Mr. Rodriguez as my first choice and Ms. Latore as my second choice. They're close in nature. I think I can appreciate the land use experience is probably where Ms. Latore has dominance. I think changing cultures is where Woody has dominance. And I would also say that my notion of changing a culture doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the current culture, but it's the idea of continuous quality improvement that I've been talking about since the day I got here that has to be in place, and the idea of moving us forward with new and different. And I think that one has more broad experience in multiple organizations and the opportunity to bring us forward looking different than we are today to meet the county managers and the citizens' needs. That was a little bit different than the other. And one has more experience with land use, which it feels like that's all we wrestle with all day long. But it is not all we wrestle with. It's just mostly what we wrestle with up here. And so it feels most dominant to us. So that was my thought.
Okay. Not to sound like a broken record, but I agree completely that this was a very difficult decision. You brought us, Ms. Narlock, some incredible candidates, and I don't remember if I said it to Darren or who I said this to, but I feel like we could not, there was no bad decision to make. It was just which was the best decision. And frankly, I came to this hoping to hear feedback from each person so that I could continue to ponder some of the qualities that I've see as such great qualities in each one of them that are not the same. They are so diverse, and not just where they went to school. We've got a couple double Seminoles, we got a Gator, we got a Cane, we got we got the whole state covered. It was remarkable to me how comfortable each of the candidates felt at least in my interviews. The homework that they had done, especially those who were not from Seminole County, spent an incredible amount of time watching our board meetings and familiarizing themselves with the issues that are before us that are not all land use issues, certainly. I was very impressed by that. I was, again, I'll highlight Mr. Morrell again, just because it was an opportunity for me to better understand the workings of that, of the department as a whole, and how much Bryant truly has done a wonderful job of making sure that there are opportunities for people to grow in that organization. And I certainly want to make sure that whoever is the next county manager will continue and expand.
County attorney.
County attorney. Damn, now I'm doing it too.
There's 3 of them that
The monkey's off my back.
I'm so
I'm ready to
sorry.
restate the proper motion when you're
Goodness
ready.
gracious. So, building the bench is huge. It is not lost on any of us that when you look at the county attorney's office now, we have some very seasoned members of the team, and we have some very exceptional junior members of the team, and we need someone who can help build that department moving forward. I don't know if I've shared my experience with hiring Georgia Lorenz at the college. I was the only, so that process was that you wrote on a piece of paper, and then you turned in the piece of paper and your rankings of who, and it occurred to me after everyone had put in their piece of paper that I was the only one who didn't vote for Georgia Lorenz, and it was a very eye-opening experience for me. Clearly, the things that I had seen going through that interview process were not the things that everybody else had seen, and I felt the same way about those candidates. They were all exceptional, but it was about the right fit, and so I think it is incredibly important that we have consensus among this board and unanimity in bringing the next county attorney on the team. So if what I'm hearing is that the consensus is that there are two top candidates in everyone's mind, being that were named was Mr. Rodriguez and Ms. Latour. Those were the top two in my mind as well.
I don't think we heard that from.
No.
We didn't hear that from
You didn't hear
Bob?
that from me at all.
Right.
Well, you were ready
you
to
were
second
calling
that
it.
motion, so that was my
That's why I
assumption.
figured that's where I was heading.
Okay,
That's why I
Do you-
didn't make a comment.
okay.
I thought that by saying was the, I'll be honest with you.
So those were all of my comments that I wanted to share. Again, tremendous candidates. You made this really very difficult for us, even though it seems like we all came to a top two very quickly. It wasn't because the others are not
Nope.
incredibly qualified and wonderful folks. I truly enjoyed getting to talk with each one of them. So there is a motion on the floor.
I probably ought to clean that up because
Okay.
there was a lot of discussion and misstatements.
Would you like to restate the motion?
Please, thank you, Madam Chair. I move a motion to approve the hiring of Catherine Kate Latore, as well as working with Ms. Narlock and Commissioner Herr to negotiate the contract for the county attorney's position.
And I will second that motion.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Zembauer and a second by Commissioner Delary. Is there any additional discussion or things that we would like to say about negotiations or timing or any of those
Well-
items? Is there anything that Ms. Narlock would like to hear from us?
Madam Chair, we had sort of set up a timeline here, knowing that the commission is, what I say, in recess in July. It's a light month as far as meetings and obligations on the calendar for you, and hopes that we could come to a decision prior to the end of this month and even enter into negotiations and really have an agreement by the end of this month if possible. Whoever the selected candidate is would serve 30 days notice minimum where they are. That would be the month of July, and then they would have a start date sometimes in the first to mid-August, depending on their needs.
Okay.
And that's fine with me. I just wanted to make the comment, I believe Ms. Latore is a resident of Seminole County, so I don't know that we need any moving stipend considerations. But if we do, I'm still happy to gather people from my district with their pickup trucks and go over and move things around for them.
Don't move her office.
That's right. I'm fine with that timeline. I think that's
Seconder agrees.
appropriate.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Narlock.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you,
Anything from the county manager?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Anything from the county attorney?
It's been a pleasure to serve in this capacity.
You're not over
You're not done yet.
I'm not done yet.
Yeah, right.
Anything else from the board for the good of the order?
Just want to say thank you to my fellow commissioners. I know we've come a long way in a year.
It's been a hell of a year.
Yeah, well.
Is the meeting over yet? It's been a hell of a year.
From whence we started this search for
Yeah.
two individuals of top leadership, and also very, very indebted to Mr. Applegate for serving dual roles, as well as
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Chipak for
We'll get-
picking up
we'll get to him in
those loose ends.
Yeah.
Official meeting.
Yeah, and I sincerely appreciate your willingness to work with the new candidate to, get them integrated and up to speed as best as possible. So thank you all.
All right. With that, we will adjourn at 4:47.